Well, welcome one and welcome all to the Junk Shop Library channel, home of Improv Bible Study, where we read it all, and we mock it all. When anything happens that's mock-worthy, we're in the book of Numbers right now, so we're taking our giggles where we can find them. Chapter 11 today. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord, and the Lord heard it. And his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again, and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it, and ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans, and made cakes of it, and the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Then Moses heard the people weep throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly. Moses also was displeased. And Moses said unto the Lord, Wherefore hast thou afflicted thy servant? And wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, that thou layest the burden of all this people upon me? Have I conceived all these people? Have I begotten them, that thou shouldest say unto me, Carry them in thy bosom, as a nursing father beareth the sucking child, unto the land which thou swarest unto their fathers? Whence should I have flesh to give unto all this people? For they weep unto me, saying, Give us flesh, that we may eat. I am not able to bear all this people alone, because it is too heavy for me. And if thou deal thus with me, kill me, I pray thee, out of hand, if I have found favor in thy sight, and let me not see my wretchedness. And the Lord said unto Moses, Gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with thee. And I will come down and talk with thee there, and I will take of the Spirit which is upon thee, and will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone. And say thou unto the people, Sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and ye shall eat flesh. For ye have wept in the ears of the Lord, saying, Who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give ye flesh, and ye shall eat. Ye shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it come out at your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that ye have displeased the Lord which is among you, and you have wept before him, saying, Why came we forth out of Egypt? And Moses said, The people, among whom I am, are 600,000 footmen, and thou hast said, I will give them flesh, that they may eat a whole month. Shall the flocks and the herds be slain for them to suffice them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them to suffice them? And the Lord said unto Moses, Is the Lord's hand waxed short? Thou shalt see now whether my word shall come to pass unto thee or not. And Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord, and gathered 70 men of the elders of the people, and set them round about the tabernacle. And the Lord came down in a cloud, and spoke unto him, and took of the Spirit that was upon him, and gave it unto the 70 elders. And it came to pass, that, when the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, and did not cease. But there remained 2 of the men in the camp. The name of the one was Eldad, and the name of the other Medad. And the Spirit rested upon them, and they were of them that were written, but went not out unto the tabernacle. And they prophesied in the camp. And there ran a young man, and told Moses, and said, Eldad and Medad do prophesy in the camp. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of Moses, one of his young men, answered and said, My lord Moses, forbid them. And Moses said unto him, Enviest thou for my sake? Would God that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his spirit upon them. And Moses gat him into the camp, he and the elders of Israel. And there went forth a wind from the Lord, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. And the people stood up all that day, and all that night, and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. He that gathered least gathered 10 omers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere it was chewed, the wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of that place Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people that lusted. And the people journeyed from Kibroth Hattaavah unto Hazeroth, and abode at Hazeroth. Numbers 11. I'm starting to have an appreciation for numbers, actually. It's an interesting formula they're trying. They bore you positively stupid with detail and repetition, and then once they've lulled you almost to sleep, they drop a chapter 11 on you. In chapter 11, we'll do this rapid fire. People complained, and God set them on fire. And people lusted and started complaining that they only had the magic manna from heaven. And Moses complained and said, "This people is too much for me. Kill me already." And God says, "Don't you remember what your papa-in-law told you? Delegate, motherfucker! Delegate!" And then once you're done delegating, you tell these ungrateful Israelitish people, you tell them, "Fine, you want flesh to eat rather than manna? I'll give you flesh to eat. You're going to have so much flesh to eat, you're going to choke on it. You're going to be sick to death of it. You'll be begging me for manna. If you had chocolate cake for every meal, you'd be sick of it soon enough." And Moses says, "How are you going to pull this off?" And God says, "I'm God, damn it." And God delegates the spiritual gifts that he had heretofore just laid upon Moses to everybody else, well, the 70 people. And it spills over onto these 2 guys, Eldad and Medad, and they're out prophesying in the camp instead of in the tabernacle like they're supposed to. And little Joshua comes running to Moses and says, "Moses, Moses, they're doing what they're not supposed to do." And Moses says, "Shut up, kid, you're bothering me. I wish everybody was a prophet. I'm tired of being the prophet." And the quail come in, and everybody starts eating the quail, looking forward to getting sick to death of eating the flesh after all this eating of manna. And God gives them a horrible disease that's so bad that they have to call the place, "Here's where we buried folks," and then they moved on to someplace else. That's just fucking funny. Every single part of that chapter is funny, except, of course, for the whole burning alive and dying of horrible celestial-born diseases and stuff, but it's the Bible. What are you going to do? Fucker's going to burn. Of this verse 8, where they're so sick of manna, and they've tried every single way they can figure out how to cook it. And they've tried everything, and they've run out of recipes. It's, my mother-in-law was telling me this story the other day about, I believe it was her, gosh, it was either her mother or her grandmother, whose family had gotten stranded on the top floor of their house during a massive flood. And the only food they had was the cans of sauerkraut that had washed out of the dry goods store down the street. And the punchline to the story is, I just flat ran out of ways to cook sauerkraut. And that's exactly what happened here. They just flat ran out of ways to cook manna. And then they start bellyaching about how much better food they had when they were being worked to death as slaves back in Egypt. God says, fine! You want meat? Pile meat up 2 cubits high. Remember, this is a cubit. I'm going to pile quail up 3 feet high all around the camp. You're going to have so much meat you're not going to know what to goddamn do with it until it cometh out at your nostrils. Then apparently got impatient waiting for them to punish themselves, and so smites them. Old Testament style, smites them with a plague. A plague so spectacular, yet again, a plague so spectacular that they name the place where the plague hit Burying Town and have to move camp. That's the Old Testament we know and love, y'all. Smitings, right, left, sideways, and people complaining and bitching and moaning and getting comeuppance and plagues. I like numbers now. You legit don't know from one chapter to the next if you're going to get census data or God getting snippy at Moses because Moses got snippy at God. We have fun here, don't we? I'm sorry, this one just tickled me no end. I don't know. It's just bloody priceless is what it is. If you enjoyed that as much as I did, please hit those thumbs ups for me. Poke the Pope to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I saw somebody snuck in without me noticing it over the weekend. Lucky 13. We all take care. Be safe. We'll see you again soon. Try not to get smited.